It can be hard to make sense of some of the things that go on in the world. Like sometimes you think, that can't be possible. Why would someone do that? Like, how could someone be so evil? Surely that's not true. Surely our worst suspicions aren't correct. And I think a good way to look at it is that you probably want sex, right? Like you probably want to have sex, you have a sex drive. Maybe even you're like really horny. You want sex all the time or, often, and you think about it quite a lot, and it alters decisions that you might make. A lot of people, obviously a lot of their life is centered around trying to acquire status or be more attractive or make people like them in order to get sex. Like it's a common drive. People also want power. Like, everybody to some degree wants power, right? Like, be cool if, you had some kind of influence on the world and you had the power to do the things that you want to do, and you had the power to get things done and to, acquire things for yourself in your life. And people would listen to you and do what you say and things like that. Like everybody to some degree wants that. But take a sex addict, for example, someone who is like completely, compulsively obsessed with sex. Like they're so addicted to sex, they'll go and visit a prostitute and then they'll have a wank right after. And then they'll go and visit another prostitute. And then they're looking at porn and they have hard drives full of porn. And they have all these sex toys, and they take sex drugs, and it becomes completely all-consuming to a point where their entire life is centered around sexual pleasure, and it's not even about what it is for you or I. For an average person, like, wanting sex is not just about the sex, right? It's about the things that surround it. But for some people, their need for sex is so all-consuming that everything else around it just disappears and just blurs into the background of their insane compulsion. And for some people, power is the same way. It's not about having a specific kind of power. It's not about having the power to do a certain thing. It is just power for the sake of power. And to a normal person, that's very hard to relate to. It's very hard for you or I to relate to that all-consuming need to just have power. It's hard to even know what that feels like. We all know what like sex feels like, what having a wank feels like, or whatever. Power, like, it's hard to, unless you've really, really experienced it, it's hard to distill it, and it's not such a tangible thing. It's a bit more vague. It's hard for us to imagine how it feels to have so much of it and to become so dependent on it and obsessed with it. But when you do imagine that there is a good number of people in the world who have this fixation and this obsession, suddenly everything makes sense. So many of the bad things that happen, so many of the crazy theories that couldn't possibly be true, so much of the stuff you see around you, and the kind of uncanny valley feeling you get when you look at certain people in positions of power and you think, is this a normal person? Is this what this person should be like? Is this just, we've just kind of come to accept that these people all behave like this? Is this right? I get a bad feeling from this thing or this person. When you've accepted the idea that, a certain number of people are just derangedly obsessed with power for whatever reason, and that you or I can't relate to them, it all makes sense, and it's much easier to see the world clearly. And that, to me, that's not anything to do with any particular political ideology, because this idea is concurrent with all of them. It doesn't have to, it doesn't fit into a particular political way of looking at the world. It's just human nature, and you can apply it to any time or place throughout history, really. Doesn't mean that you can apply it across the board to all people and to everyone who's ever had power. Certainly not. There's definitely some good people out there, but it helps to make light of a lot of things that we are going through today and have gone through forever, really.